Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. We're going to go ahead and call our October board meeting to order. If you will, please stand with me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And we're here with our High Point Academy's mission statement. High Point Academy's vision is cultivating lifelong learners in a student-centered environment. Vision statement is High Point Academy's vision is to be an exemplary school of choice for academically minded families. Thank you. And Ms. Wright, and our 3 R's.
The 3 R's. We practice the 3 R's. Rights, the right to a quality education, the right to a safe environment, the right to reach my potential. Respect. I will respect my classmates. I will respect my teachers. I will respect myself. And responsibility. I'm responsible for my education. I'm responsible for my actions. I'm responsible for my opportunities.
Thank you. And if you all will, I'm going to do our invocation for this evening. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you have given us. Lord, thank you for the privilege and the honor for us to serve on this board, to serve our students and our families at High Point Academy. Lord, let this evening bring forth meaningful conversations. Let us be kind and respectful in our thoughts and words, and let everything that we move towards this evening be for the purpose of our students and High Point Academy. So your name we pray. Amen. All right, first on the agenda is to approve our agenda for this evening. It's been provided to everyone. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda for tonight?
Motion.
Thank you, Matt. A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries, and we are moving forward. Here we go, student spotlight.
Mr. Langston.
Buster's gonna do the elementary spotlight tonight.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, Buster.
People are here, but anyway, we want to spotlight 2 students who are serving their school community. They are taking it upon themselves to be leaders every Friday morning and deliver our backpacks, food bags to our school. So they have learned how to do that. We have Emerson Stanley and Briley Foster, and they do that every Friday morning and have done a great job being leaders.
Good evening. I'd like to highlight our students with the top MAP scores. So these students are officially way smarter than I am. I can tell you that much. And we have a couple of returning stars here today also that have been spotlighted previously. But I would like to recognize first Mr. Cooper Wilson in math. Alexander Owens for ELA. Chris Codaspati. Zoe Sundian. Ryder Tarleton for math. I don't think Ryder is
He's
here.
running late, but I can hold it.
He's running late.
Yeah,
I hate to, is he coming?
he is, yeah.
Well, can we wait on him when he gets here to do it?
Yes.
Just so he has that honor. And Dawson Hines, and I believe Dawson is not here tonight also. So Dawson will be for ELA. Thank you.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to recognize Ms. Alex Creel for having the highest ASVAB score for not only the junior class here, but her score puts her in the top 10% in the nation. She scored better than 90%.
That That is wonderful. Appreciate, all our students and families being here. We have some other fun and exciting things for our families to stay for, so we'll go ahead and keep it going.
This is one of them.
Okay.
Okay.
So again, we have, this is Mr. Dawson Hines. Come on up, Dawson.
Wonderful.
We've already done it for everybody, but I didn't get to. That's for 8th grade highest ELA map score.
We're gonna go ahead and keep moving through our agenda real quick. We're moving quick tonight. We're good. Okay.
I hadn't got my workout in, just getting up and down. Right, come on, everybody. So this is Ryder Charlton's highest map score in 8th grade for math.
I would like you all to stay this evening for the swearing in of our new board member. Mr. Purser was recently elected in a fall special election to fill a vacant seat. So we're gonna go ahead and swear him in. Mary Allison, do that for us. Josh, if you please stand.
You will stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I am duly qualified,
that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
of this state,
of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office
to exercise the duties of this office,
to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties thereof,
discharge the duties thereof,
and preserve,
and preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of this state
the Constitution of this state
in the United States,
and the United States,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
And I would like to introduce you to Riley Foster. She is one of our elementary, community helpers. Thank you.
Thank you all so much, Josh. Congratulations, and we're excited to have you join the board. And to our families and students that have joined us tonight, kudos to you all on your work that you do for our school, and the efforts that you put in for your testing. Thank you to the students. Thank you to the families. You all are welcome to stay the rest of this evening. However, we do have some business to attend to. If you want to leave, now is the time. Thank you all for being here. Josh, there for you is some confidentiality information, some conflict of interest documents every board member signs at the beginning of every year. Just take care of that tonight and give it to Tika, our secretary, and she'll follow for us. Next on our agenda is our approval of our September minutes. They were provided in the drive folder. Any questions or updates to these minutes for the September meeting? Alright, is there a motion for approval? Anyone?
Motion.
Kyle, thank you. A second?
I will.
Jack, hey, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to our September financial report. Thank you for being here this evening.
Alright, so Maria had the honors of the new format last month. That's the first time in a while I had a hard conflict I couldn't move around. Basically, we'll start out with the balance sheet at the top and then kind of the income statement. On the balance sheet, you see your general operating cash at $4.2 million, and that's, it's over 100 days cash on hand. The bond requirement is actually 60 days cash on hand, which is also the same requirement as the district. They require 2 months, which is 50 days fund balance. So doing very well on a cash perspective there. On the income statement itself, the I don't know if I can put this.
And it's a new tab, but might let you.
At the top, we got the total revenue, 22% used. So it's kind of the opposite of the intact reports where we're talking about the percent remaining in the past. This is kind of the percent used. So if we're talking about on a 3-month basis, July through September, because your fiscal year starts July 1st, about 25% used is kind of where you want to be. So the revenue is based on 1280 and 1280 students. And of course, you still have other funds, your federal funds, and the more special restricted state funds that come in later during the year as well. But just something to keep an eye on. And then the total expenses. At the top, we kind of see kindergarten, primary, which is grade 23, and elementary, which is your 4 through 8, as well as high school there, a little bit over that mark. I will say that the teacher supply checks, the $300 that goes out to teachers at the beginning of the school year is included in that. That's an upfront cost. That's money the teachers can spend on they're in the classroom and on supplies and whatnot at their own discretion. So that's an upfront cost. There are other upfront supply costs that typically happen at the beginning of the fiscal year. And that's a lot to do with why those lines are a little bit over the 25% used mark there at this point in the year. Similar scenario for some other things in the support categories. The support ones being the ones starting with the 200 numbers: guidance, health, psychological, curriculum development, etc. Those are things not directly in the classroom, but support the classroom, such as your nurse at 29, library, which is the educational media, and then of course the technology down here at the bottom at about 50%. Those were specifically the technology and the nurse and the library, things that were in the budget that just have been spent on the front end in the first 3 months that were allocated for the whole fiscal year. So such as services, supplies, and computers and whatnot. So you do tend to see that at the beginning of the year. The one that is iffy here is the school administration line. It shows $300,000 compared to a $26,000 budget. The budget is just inaccurate at that point. The transfer from Intact to Smart Fusion, I think, on that budget got lost. So I'm updating that. So it's of course not just $26,000 for all the school administration budget. So did want to point that out. The total net income is over $200,000 to the positive through 3 months. So that's good. There is one slight change from the prior year that I discussed during the finance meeting, and that is in prior fiscal years, we did do a separate journal entry that kind of recorded what your debt service would be on a monthly basis. What actually happens on a monthly basis is you're transferring money from your general unrestricted operating cash to your restricted cash. And then we used to do an accrual, basically, based off that entry, to kind of show that expense on a monthly basis. And then every 6 months, twice a year, the money would come from your restricted cash and kind of go to the bond people, basically your mortgage payment happens every 6 months. Instead of doing that on an accrual basis and showing an expense once a month, because it is actually moving cash to cash, we're not going to do that because it is technically not correct from an accounting basis, even though it's kind of better for looking at for y'all on the board basis. So there will be a large transaction of about $700,000 that will occur in December when that sweep actually happens from your restricted cash to service that debt service. Which also may be why it kind of looks different this month, but from a cost, you're in the positive compared to previous years where you have been more closer to a net zero. Yeah. Any questions on that or anything I can maybe look into more detail and get back to you on?
David, will you explain to them what encumbered means, since that's something new on the reporting?
Yeah, so Encumber, that's a feature of Smart Fusion. It's basically kind of giving you the accounts payable on the income statement. So that's stuff that's actually been entered into the system, not yet been paid, or even POs, I believe, not yet been paid, that will be coming out as of September 30th, that day. So previously, you just kind of talk about it on the balance sheet and now it's actually on the income statement as well.
All right, any questions for David? Under financial information. All right, that's great. Thank you, David. We missed you, but Maria did do a great job. We're gonna continue on with our audit presentation. Ben Martin is gonna be joining us via video conferencing. He's working with Magic. Connect with him. There we go. Pretty good time. It's sometime between 6:15 and 6:20. 6:17. I want you to get into your stuff, just do it.
Someone can see this, I mean, now. He confirmed he would be here.
Is he or is he? So that 252?
Oh, if so, that's a landline.
That's what's on his. Yeah.
No, I have 901-8787 virtual. Just to contact everybody.
Okay, so I'll wonder if you care to have that conversation.
would you elaborate a little bit more on that program that those elementary kids did? Is that something that they chose to do on their own?
No, the food bags, is a local church that provides extra food to send home on the weekends for families that may be in need.
Gotcha.
So they help distribute those bags. They don't know which students receive those bags though, but they will drop them by the classroom doors. And so they've gotten very independent about doing that, but they know that they're serving other students.
Yeah. How do the students at the school get identified to receive the bags?
Through the teachers and the school counselor. She's the liaison between the church. So they, between, a lot of them, if we know the previous year there was a need, we'll check first and then teachers will identify students that are in.
Is it just elementary students that receive the bags?
No, that's middle and some high school. And then some, we also get a few extras that go into the middle school lockers for anybody in need that needs to grab a snack. Yeah, anything like that as well. Yeah, so every child in that family can get a bag to take home for the weekend. And it's stuff like crackers, packs of grits, little macaroni and cheeses, cans of Chef Boyardee, things that kids can fix themselves.
That goes home every weekend?
Yes, every Friday. They're very faithful at delivery. They drop off the big tubs in the front, and then our students take the wagon, they go pick them up, and then they drop them by classroom doors.
That's really cool.
It's been very helpful.
I'm sure. Just gonna check in with him. He's calling in remote and gave him a time frame. Wasn't exactly sure what time we'd be getting to the audit. I did. No. If you did.
That's correct. He says he's online and waiting to be let in.
Okay.
Sorry, Ken, we're working on it right now. You know, technical difficulties and all.
You know, Joe, did you create a link, yes, or did he?
Yes.
Well, then I don't know, I have the authority to let him in.
Okay.
We're not doing it on purpose, but we really are excited about it.
Alright. Okay, that's my fault.
Oh,
Wait,
okay, we got it.
Okay, that's my fault.
Okay, sure.
Okay, that's my fault.
Okay.
Hi, Ken, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Ken?
Ken, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
I don't know what to do now.
Well, probably the best thing is for you to mute and then let everything run through.
Well, I am muted now.
Okay.
Are you unmuted, Ken?
No, I'm muted.
Yes, if you unmute, we should be okay.
I can hear you occasionally. I don't know, can you all hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay.
All right, Ken, I'm so sorry. We all have our specialties and none of them are on tech. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We're just gonna let you go ahead and jump right in.
Okay, great. Thank you. And no problem at all about the technical difficulties. Glad that I can be with you this evening. We did, again this year, perform an audit financial statement audit following generally accepted audit standard as well as governmental audit standards. Also, because of the size of your federal funding, we this year also did a compliance audit of your federal funds. If you have more than $750,000 in a year, we do really a separate audit of that. In both cases, the standards that we're working under guide us in all aspects of the audit. At their most basic, they require us to gather enough independent audit evidence that we can give our opinion on your financial statements. The financial statements and their fair presentation are your responsibility, the responsibility of the schools and schools management. Our responsibility is to perform an audit and then give our opinion as to whether those financial statements are fairly presented. So the focus of our work is on gathering audit evidence. We have worked with High Point now for a number of years, and so we've been able to devise some very effective, very efficient means of gathering that evidence. We of course test your revenues, your expenses, your assets, your liabilities, do a wide variety of tests, all with an eye toward gathering audit evidence. And I should point out that as we're doing that, as we're testing these various areas, we also are testing your system of internal controls. Again, that is the responsibility of the school to establish a system of controls and then to communicate that system out to everyone at the school and then to hold folks accountable to follow it. And then we, as we're doing our audit testing, one thing that we're doing is testing whether your system is actually working. And I'm happy to tell you that we feel like you've got a strong system in place. And that's a combination of you've got good controls there at the school. And then also you layer on top of that your relationship with Prestige and the controls that they bring. And that combination of the controls at the school and then more broadly with Prestige give you a strong system of controls. And then as we were doing our audit testing, we didn't find any cases where those controls weren't being followed. So we consider controls a critical part of the audit, and I'm happy to report that our report on those controls is a positive one. A good system in place, that system is being followed. We then moved to what I call fairly routine audit tests. And again, we're doing those tests to gather evidence, and we were able to gather enough audit evidence that we're able to render an opinion on the financials, and that opinion is unmodified, which is the best opinion that we can give you, that the financial statements do present fairly the results of your operation for the year and also your financial position. I mentioned that we do a compliance audit as well, and that is we focus on your more significant federal programs, and we for each of those programs there is a compliance supplement that the federal agency puts out. We get that supplement, and then we do detailed testing of your programs, and if we find anything at all, certainly we let the board know about it, but probably more importantly, we'd have to let the pertinent federal agency know about any problems we found. And again, I'm happy to tell you that all of our detailed testing of compliance, we didn't find any issues that we have to report to you or then on to the federal government. So our report on that is positive as well. Your set of financials, which I believe runs over 70 pages this year, begins with our independent auditor's report, an unmodified opinion. And the very last thing in that package is our report on your federal compliance. Again, an unmodified report. So your financial statements are bookended by our reports, and they're positive reports. So again, that I've been with this group before and given a positive report like this, and surely you expect that. By the same token, we like to emphasize that this doesn't just happen. It's the result of hard work by your folks there at the school, day by day, transaction by transaction. I know Stephanie wasn't there the whole year, but she was there for a good part of the year and did an outstanding job of pulling together all the financial statement or audit documentation that we needed, gave it to us, and then answered the questions that we had. So we feel like the team you got there is an outstanding one, that they're experienced, they know what they're doing, they're dedicated to their jobs and do a good job, which enables us to come in, do our work, and give a real positive report like this. And I know I've just thrown a lot at you very quickly, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the process we went through, or our findings, or our findings during the audit.
Thank you, Ken. Like you said, that 76-page document was provided a week or so ago to the board for review. If you needed to take a look at it, Ken's here now to answer any questions if you have any.
Just one clarifying item. So Ken, an unmodified opinion for lay folks, that is a clean opinion, correct?
That's correct, yes. We've managed to take something that should be simple and make it more complicated. But yes, an unmodified opinion used to be called a clean opinion, and it's the best opinion that we can give you.
Great, thank you. Anne Marie, anything to add, or?
No, we always enjoy working with Ken and his team, and we appreciate him meeting the deadline of getting that done in a timely fashion and being easy to work with and allowing us to meet our deadlines with the district. So, yeah.
Great.
Wonderful. Any other questions for Ken about the audit?
Hey, Ken, just, this is Matt Nesper, just a curiosity. On page 65, when you say the auditee is at low risk of an audit, what does that mean? Like, what qualifies us to be low risk?
Good question. So basically, that does speak to kind of what I have been at least intimating, and that is, if in the course of previous audits and this audit, we had difficulties, either in we were asking for things and didn't get them, made significant adjustments, that type of thing, then the school would no longer qualify as low risk. But because in the past and even this year, you were able to really provide us what we needed in the form we needed it, with no errors, no findings, you're then considered low risk. So that speaks to what's happening. Also, if you are not low risk, then that means we have to do a good bit more testing, which oftentimes translates into more time / more billings. So to be considered low risk is certainly a good thing, and it does speak to what's happening there in your finance department and the whole school.
Thank you.
All right.
I might just briefly give you kind of our overview of kind of the financial results, and then kind of where you stand financially, just again from our perspective for the year. And I don't know if you have the financial statements in front of you, but for the year, your general fund on Exhibit E, your general fund balance increased by about $245,000 this year. And that's about the fourth straight year that you've been able to increase that general fund balance. And as we look at charter schools, in any given year, you might actually invest in such a way in maybe in property items, that type of thing, where you reduce your fund balance. That's not a huge negative, but we do think that as you look over a longer period, a healthy school lives within its means and increases its general fund balance year by year. So we think the fact that you did that again this year, not a huge increase, but a good solid $245,000 increase in fund balance, speaks to your ability to budget in such a way and then operate in such a way that you are living within your means. And by doing that, your unassigned general fund balance, which is really a key measure, is at about $4.7 million. You have raised it to that level, and that represents about 40% of your annual general fund expenditures, about 4.5 months worth of expenditures. To put that in a little perspective, the absolute minimum that the Department of Ed requires is 8.3% of expenditures. That's 1 month of expenditures. And the government finance officers say the absolute minimum you should have is 2 months. So you have about 4 months, a little over 4 months. And we think for a charter school, that's a good, healthy number. Certainly, it gives you the opportunity as you have areas you want to invest in, then you've built up some fund balance to do that. So we think the school has operated in such a way, really over the last several years, that you find yourself in a good, strong financial position going forward.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing and clarifying that. That's good to know.
And that really is my presentation, unless you have further questions for me.
I think we are good. I appreciate you being with us tonight, Mr. Martin.
All right, good. We'll have a good remainder of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that, and I think a lot of the things that you shared really is commendable to Anne Marie, the work she's done, Stephanie, and the team, Mr. Sherman, everybody who's doing their part. Really appreciate all the work you guys do on that, especially Stephanie, what you came right in, that was like task 1 for you? Work on the audit?
Yep.
Yeah. Any questions for Anne Marie or Stephanie, Mr. Sherman, on the audit? Great. Good to hear that we had a unmodified opinion. All right, moving into school business.
All right, first of all, we start off with our quote, as we always do. I'm gonna read it to you. You all can read. Saw that the other day, and I thought that's a really good stage of where we are as schools right now. It's very competitive, and it's a crazy world we live in. Moving along, Sandy.
Okay. Congratulations to Mr. Gray Lancaster and Ms., who is the Executive Director of Compliance and Procurement, and Ms. Kelly Buster, who is the new elementary principal. This is so exciting. Give you a little background. Mr. Lancaster has 13 years of experience in education and is certified by the South Carolina State Board of Education in mathematics and as an elementary and secondary principal. He also has endorsements in gifting and talent and Read to Succeed requirements. Ms. Buster joined HPA as assistant principal in 2019. Backed by 24 years of experience in education, she is certified by the South Carolina State Board of Education as an elementary school principal and a school librarian. Let's give them another hand.
All right, next up, Ms. Buster and Mr. Hammer.
Thank you. Just giving you a quick report that on October 13th, a little over a week ago, we did practice our reunification drill again. We took the faculty off campus and really went through everybody role plays, so you can just see some of the pictures of things that happened that day. So if we do have an emergency here on campus that we have to evacuate, we will take all staff and all students to another location here in Spartanburg. And then we have a systematic way that we will reunite students with their families. So this is what happens. Our faculty role played. If they have a role in reunification, this gave them a chance to practice that. Like we have greeters that will meet parents in the parking lot. And then if you're not part of the reunification team, your job that day was to role play either a student or a parent. So everybody had a job to do. So our greeters prepared the materials. Our parents were met at the door. They were given instructions. They fill out the same form that any parent of our students will fill out. So they take a minute to do that. Their forms are looked over at the door by the greeters as well. And just, reassuring words are given, trying to calm down, what's happening on the inside. Teachers are assigned different places within the building. They take attendance. They note the time when students are picked up. Students patiently wait for their parents to get into these roles. We have some dramatic staff members, so they had a good time as well, waiting for parents to pick them up. A reunifier greets the parents, takes them to a waiting area, and then they go get the student and bring the student to the parents. So it's a one-to-one family matchup. And then then as they leave, Mr. Mahaffey is the last HPA person that they see. He just gives an encouraging word about, see you tomorrow, or be on the lookout. We'll give you more information. And then they head out to the parking lot, and then we are done. We do have accountants at the beginning and accountants at the end who they check through to make sure we have every student accounted for. Every student has been picked up, or we know where their location is. So we had a great day, and we feel, we feel that if an emergency were to occur and we were to use this either here in our building or off campus, we're at least prepared, as prepared as we can be. So thank you.
What is-
Questions?
What is the, like from when a parent would arrive at site to pick up their reunified their child? About what time from when, like, they arrive to when they leave with Mr. Mahaffey? Like, how long would that take to actually, like, reunite with the child?
I don't know how long, actually. The goal, though, that we've tried to tell our faculty is not speed. It is just to be thorough and to make sure every student is accounted for. So I really can't give you a full time. Hopefully not long, because we do have enough reunifiers that we can keep the line moving.
Yeah.
The backup area will most likely be when parents come. We only have around 10 people that will check in parents. And that's the holdup with that, is that you are required to have an ID, and you're required to be in one of the emergency pickups on Power School. You can't just call a random friend to come pick up. We will not release students. So that's the part that would take the most time, is verifying that you are who you say you are and you are on that child's pickup list.
Right.
But once we get you in the door, we hope that part will move pretty quickly.
I think that's probably the most frantic part. is that-
Yes.
That parent.
Yes. So we're pretty strategic in our faculty members that we put up in those areas. To have compassion, but also be like, help keep order.
Right. And how often are you planning to do the reunification drill for you all?
That's a Mr. Hammer question, but,
We did it last year, but we had so many new faculty and staff this year that we decided to do it again.
Yeah.
That basically just depends on how that goes every year. So we could just keep it that way for a couple of years and then redo it then, but that would just be something we adjust.
Thank you. Mr. Hammer, will you speak to that as part of our overall emergency plans?
For the reunification?
No, all of our emergency plans.
So all of our emergency plans have been set in place for, and I spoke a little bit about this previously, but we don't want to have rote memorization as far as teachers and students where they follow the same paths and they follow the same things. So we have unannounced fire drills. We will have unannounced other drills. We will take into account, of course, like lunches and those kind of things. But we want to make sure that the teachers are well aware that in those first few seconds or minutes of anything happening, they are fully in charge of their classroom. They're fully in charge of their students that they have, and some students that may not be theirs, but they've gathered up to be with them. So we have to make sure that they know that and that they know the plan moving forward. We're currently looking at Navigate 360. We already have it, but we noticed that we haven't used it to its full effect, so we're trying to get that in play to use it to its full effects, where we can basically do everything digitally to account for students, account for teachers, account for anyone in the building. Of course, we work with Officer or Deputy Rhodes very well, and with the Sheriff's Department very well. And it's safety, like I said before, you can't have education without safety. So that's actually the number one word in education. But our teachers have bought into everything, our students have bought into it. So everything that we're doing right now is really geared towards teaching our teachers what safety is.
All right, thank you, Ms. Buster, Mr. Hammer. Moving right along, Mr. Lancaster, you're next.
All right, exciting federal funds. As of October 2nd, our poverty percentage is sitting around 55%. A little bit later, Ms. Medford is going to talk about our test scores. And as part of that, she'll point out that last year we were sitting around 60%, so it is down a little bit. Part of that has to do with, now that we are doing the community lunch program, we don't, the district office instructed us that we are not to send out the free and reduced lunch forms. So we get that number directly from the direct cert list that Tammy Edwards gets once a month. So there, there may be a few extra students that are not getting identified, but to get Title I funds, the district has set that number at 63%, and that's continuing to go up each year, and then you determine your Title I off the year before. So all that to say, as of right now, still very unlikely that we're going to start receiving Title I funds again from the district moving into next year. And then for the rest of it, I just have the amounts listed of what we're going to receive or be reimbursed for this year. ESSER 3 is the largest, $356,000, but that will be expiring at the end of this year. Got $24,000 of Title II. That mainly gets spent on professional development, so most of that will be going to sending teachers to conferences. ATSI is new this year. We came off the Palmetto priority list. ATSI funds are for underperforming subgroups. So we did have 2 subgroups that did not perform as well as their peers. I think the percentage gap was, it had to be a 20% difference, if I'm correct, and that was our African American population and our SPED population. So we will get that money for 3 years. We should get that amount for 3 years, and it's to go towards providing intervention for those students. So we used about half of it already this year to buy curriculum for our SPED department, SPED teachers. That was something that they did not have before this. They made everything on their own or just gathered from other resources. So Dr. Mazzell put a committee together and selected that. And then the rest of it goes to pay for 2 interventionists that pull students that we've identified in those groups that are struggling to work with them. Perkins is federal CAKE money, so that's your vocational programs. We'll get about $15,000 for that. That money is going to, if it's approved, the Perkins and the state CTE has not been, we've turned in the plan, but it hasn't been approved yet. We're going to use the Perkins to expand the workstations that we have in our media tech classroom. In the state CTE, sorry, lose my voice. Yelled at too many children today. Again, if it's approved, what we are trying to get approved is the fee for our drone course in high school. That will eat up the lion's share of that fund. And the rest of it will go towards some other CAKE materials, some camcorders, again, for our digital arts and things like that. Any questions on federal funds?
The ATSI, that's for those subgroups, you said, correct? So what is that based on, what scores?
SC rating.
SC rating. So next year, if we improve, we will still get that for
Yes.
3 years though.
Yeah, they, it's on a 3-year cycle, and they only reevaluate the list every 3 years.
Okay.
Is my understanding. So even if we improve in year 1, we should still get that money for another 2 years.
Any questions for Mr. Lancaster? Great.
Mr. Edens.
All right, we'll start with our roofing. As you know, we've been looking at options for our roof. We had 3 companies come in and give us our best solutions for our roof situation, 75,000 square feet on the high school side, plus some miscellaneous parts on other parts of the building. We had IAS Roofing, we had Baker Roofing, and Blue Ridge. We signed the contract with Baker Roofing the 26th of September. And their standard operating procedure would be to start that work 12 to 16 weeks out. So we were looking at around Christmas. Through some fortunate events, they come and do their pre-construction visit last week on Thursday. They delivered all of our EPS, our ISO, and our TPO this morning. So we have all of our material here, and they will start work on that as early as tomorrow. So instead of looking at finishing this thing up early next year, we should have this finished in December. So they'll start with that. They'll put the EPS flute field systems, the system that we went with. They do the flute fields, the 1-inch ISO on top of that with the TPO covering. That includes all of our transitions and all of our flashings, as well as upgrading our gutters in that area of the school. So we are moving right along with that one. Looking forward to that. Really got lucky with getting to start that this week. Questions or concerns with roofing?
That'll all be going on during school hours.
That will be going on during school hours. Yes. Yep.
Is there much of a noise problem with them on the roof?
There will be some noise. It'll be a little more than what it is when I'm up there trying to fix, because you have a crew of people working. But which we're gonna try to contain that the best we can. I think we'll be fine. Of course, we'll move them out of all testing areas and situations, coordinate everything as far as that goes.
That's great, and they can get in early then.
Yes.
That's a beautiful week to start.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Our building management system, which is our integrated HVAC, Harris Integrated Solutions has actually started this project several months ago, and they had to, of course, with scheduling through us, they had to take a break through the summer, and they come back and they start again in August. We are almost finished with this. We should be finished. We had some issues with our chillers. As of today, I can access all of our school remotely. You guys like a little presentation of that?
Yeah, that's right. And it has internal controls of which tell you what the best settings are. It has an energy efficient.
All right. So here's every system in our school. It is divided into rooms and hallways. And you can see all of our systems right now are gray except for the main office. That's because we have them on schedule. They went off almost 2 hours ago. The front office, we override for the board meeting so that we stay nice and comfortable up here. So we can actually go into whatever system we want to look at, and we can actually see the components that are running to make sure that we are inside of our parameters, and we can adjust our parameters for every system. We can go through and set up schedules. Of course, this one's overridden for a schedule. It's an override schedule until 9 o'clock tonight. We set this up for holidays. This is going to save us at least 25% on our heating and air conditioning, because now we have the ability to set these up. You can set through thermostats, but these are sensitive to 1/10 of a degree. The sensors that we have are sensitive to 1/10 of a degree. So we can control every part of the school. And if we have issues, we can go through and we can actually troubleshoot all the way down to component level. So this pulls in all of our contacts, all of our relays, all of our sensors. Philip Henson, our HVAC, and myself right now are the only ones with access to this, just because you can't go in there and you can turn on sensors and yeah, you can mess that up. Yeah, and we don't want to chase that out. But we can control these. We can troubleshoot these from home. So I can pull this up on my phone. Everything's remote. And this is 100% of our systems, with the exception right now. Both of our chillers, we're still waiting on. They will have those hooked up. They will have those hooked up. We will have a few issues with that we'll have to talk about as far as zoning. But they'll have our chillers hooked up. And the last part will be the volleyball center. The volleyball center will be hooked up with the last chiller. And then as soon as that's complete, we have 100% control and we can run everything through these computers with complete efficiency, up to a 10th of a degree. And we're hoping, this should have been done already, but with our chillers giving us some problem, we're hoping that within 2 weeks, we have both the chillers put on here and we'll be complete. So,
That's great.
any questions or concerns on?
Tell them what the problem with chillers are.
Well, we have a couple problems with chillers. Our oldest chiller, our air handlers for those chillers are original to this building. So we have a lot of outdated components on that. We'll have control over that chiller within a couple of weeks. So I'll be able to shut that chiller on and off, and I'll be able to set it to a set point, but I can't control the zones. So that chiller controls our main hallways and our main hallways. So every area in our main hallway, I won't be able to set this zone different than this zone. So that's our issue with that. We'll have to upgrade those. With our newer chiller, we have some wiring issues to where someone was in it before, and yeah, we have some issues that were not wired in properly, and we're working on that now. But Philip found a lot of this. Philip's a great asset to our team. But yes, we're almost ready to go.
And this system helps you identify, like if something goes bad,
Yes.
you can identify the part more easily.
Absolutely, absolutely. We can come over here to our, in our graphics, it gives me an overall graphic, shows me if a fan's running, if I'm cooling, if I'm heating, but I can actually go into the logic like we were looking before. And I can go through and troubleshoot the sensors and the relays from here. It gives us great control.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Helps us understand it better.
I think we're gonna, in our savings, we're gonna make back what we spent in a few years. We're saved long term. The one chiller, we're gonna have to buy some new components eventually. If it's as old as this building's gotta be 45 years old, so that's an old chiller. If it's, that handler's that old, that's an old handler. So. All right, moving along. Shirley Brown, you're up. I mean, Shirley Medford, I'm sorry.
So we, for a long time, have been able to share any specifics with you, but I can report that the test score embargo has been lifted, so I can share with you. And so what you're looking at right now on the screen is the South Carolina Ready results from the spring. So this was for last school year. And you'll see this, they take the SC Ready in the 3rd through the 8th grade, reading and math, and so I have that on one screen for you to see. And something, I'm not gonna read the scores, you can look at that and just kind of see where we are at each grade level. But that number that you're seeing is the percentage of students that pass, that meets or exceeds is considered passing. So that's what that number is. And I want to point out a trend that if you look at the trend in reading, you see that it's trending up every year, okay? And that's typically unusual, because if you look at like historical trend data, like not just for High Point Academy, but like across the state, a lot of times you notice in math and in reading, and our math is more typical of the trend. It's usually those scores start off high in the elementary grades, and they kind of bump down every year as they go up to middle school, and even on into high school. It can influence into the EOC scores. And that is just a normal trend that has just occurred. But we are really breaking that mold, I guess, in the reading department for sure, as it is increasing every year. So I think that is really a lot of, I can attribute it to a million different things, but one thing I think is the foundations that we are laying in elementary school as they're working up. And that's an advantage that we have at High Point as well. Math, you can see, well, third grade is just knocking it apart there. But, it is more of a typical trend, and have a lot of things in place to address that trend. So we want to do the same thing for math that we're seeing in reading, obviously. So you'll go to the next slide. And so one thing that I did last year, and that we think as a school of choice in this area, that it's important that we're competitive. And this is something that I showed you last year, and so this is for this year, based on the scores from last year. You can see High Point Academy is in the blue there, that's our performance. And you see District 1 through 7, that would be the surrounding Spartanburg districts and how they performed on the SC Ready. And the ones that are highlighted in green, that is, we're doing at or better than those districts in that area. And if you look at it globally too, you can see that we are on par. So I would say we're doing very well and competitively. This is reading, and if you'll go to the next slide, this is the math one. So lots of green in both slides, but also very much on par with our surrounding community. And so we think that is important as a school of choice. And if you go to the next one. As I say, this goes all the way through. I think this trend is going to continue all the way through the high school, especially if you look at that English 2 passage rate, which is still very, very strong. These are our passage rates for the end of course testing in the high school. And I just want to remind you that the state considers passing a C or above. I know on our school report cards, it's a D or above, but that's not the case at the state level. It has to be A, B, or C to be considered passing. And so those are our passage rates, our percentages. And as we did with the SC Ready, I also did a comparison for the surrounding Spartanburg districts, and you can see how we are performing, the green being or better than the surrounding districts in those rates. So kudos to English 2. They are just really doing a great job. And we are seeing improvements across the board. And Mr. Mahaffey did want me to make sure that I mentioned that, if you looked at the state report cards have been released, and if you look, the high school did receive a good rating, but we were 3 points shy of being excellent in the high school. So I wanted to make sure he wanted me to make sure that I mentioned that, because that is something to be proud of. So I feel like we're going to get it this year.
And I will thank you, Shelley, for that report. We are trending well in many areas. We have a lot of things to work on. The biggest thing, one of our biggest issues is if you're in a normal school in District 6 or 7, probably 95 or 96% of the students you had last year will be at school next year. 3 years ago, we had a 33% turnover. We're at about a 23% turnover this year. When you have that much turnover, you have one out of every 4 students as a new student. So all the work we did with those other students the year before is gone, and we're starting from scratch again. So one of the things that the board wants to concentrate on is getting that level down to 10%. So we're not having that constant influx of students, which I think will improve our scores even more. We can get if we got to the normal rate that the other schools were, I think you'd see even better scores. We get them for a year and they leave, and then they come back 2 years later, and that revolving door is really difficult to deal with. But I'm very proud of our teachers. They have worked incredibly hard to put us in the position that we are in. And we compare the 7 districts because this is where we get our kids. They come, 99% of them come from Spartanburg County. So the one thing that we have to be able to tell people, it's hard to tout your school if your scores aren't close to what everybody else has. And so when your scores are close and you're in the mix, you have a lot more leverage and a lot more things to talk about. So our teachers have worked incredibly hard. They've done a lot of work, and they're continuing to work. And we had the district office came for our charter renewal the other day. And we walked from classroom to classroom, and I didn't pick them. I just told them, you tell me which door you want to go into. I didn't pick anybody. We walked into classroom after classroom, and the biggest thing that they said was the student engagement. And I encouraged them to go up to kids, talk to the kids, ask the kids what they were doing to see if the kids knew what assignment they were doing, why they were doing it, and what was supposed to happen with it. In almost every case, the kids knew what they were doing. They knew what they were supposed to do, they knew why they were doing it, and they knew what it was for. And so that student engagement piece is what we're looking for. Yeah, you know, we can have the best teacher in the world, but if students aren't engaged, it doesn't really matter. But the student engagement piece was well up. They were extremely impressed with the fact that our kids, and that was true in elementary, it was true in middle, and it was true in high school. And they saw it in every room they went into. So very pleased our teachers did a fantastic job. And for all of you who've never been a teacher, to know that somebody can walk in your door at any minute, and 6 people from you don't know from Adam walk in your door and are looking at you teaching and what you're doing, that is extremely stressful for teachers. And but of course, when they were all gone, everyone who got seen, what'd they say? They all wanted to know exactly what was said about what they had done, and then I had nothing but positive things to say about every class. And the good news is I felt like I could have taken them into any class and got that same result. And that's a testament to how hard our teachers are working and what they're doing to present the material to the students. And I am so pleased with how hard they're working, what they're doing. Great job on our teachers' part and our administrators for getting us in this position.
Shelley, it would be helpful to see year-over-year comparison of how we do year-over-year. Do you have that on the slide?
Not tonight, but I do have that information, like all the way back from 2016, I think is the last August that goes back. Is that.
Yeah. I know 2020 messes up, but 3 data points make a trend. If we could have 3 years of information to us, I think that I would love to see year over year. You know what I'm seeing? What I'm saying?
That would be good. COVID plays into it.
Yeah, no, before
And then
after COVID.
And then next year, they're changing the biology EOC, and they're changing the science tests for elementary and middle. So those things really put a damper on, you know, being able to accurately, but we can get you that data.
That'd be great. I think it'd be helpful for us to see at each grade level where our trends are that compared to other districts is helpful, but I would love to see how we're doing. I think it's.
Have they
might be
received a
helpful.
copy of the proposed charter yet? Because I have all that historical data in that.
Not yet. They'll be getting that in a week.
That chart that you did where we have the EOCs the last 4 years.
And we've also got it for the SC Ready.
And we have it for this.
Speaking about the charter, we did it for that. Yeah. I also think it's important to look at like apples to apples and oranges to oranges, meaning that like you can look at 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but another way to look at it to show growth, which is so important with SC Ready, is to look at like how they performed in the 3rd grade, the same
Yes.
students in the 4th
Yes.
grade, and the same students in
Correct.
the 5th grade.
Yeah.
I think that's an important way to look at it too. Which I think is in that charter.
Yes,
report.
we have, if you haven't already, you're going to be getting a great big old notebook, and all of these charts will be in there.
That data I think is helpful for us to see, be able to say, are we as a school growing? It's great to see that in the district, but as we look at ourselves, I would love to see
I
that.
think you will be not surprised, but I think you'll be pleasantly reassured.
Okay. Thanks, Shelley.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Sherman or the team? Anything shared tonight? That is wonderful. Thank you, guys. I'm glad you finally got to share that information with us. Thanks for putting that together. All right, moving on, are there any public comments? No public comments, okay. We are now ready to move into our executive session portion of our meeting for some legal advice, committee discussion, and board training discussion. We have a motion for executive session.
Motion.
Thanks, Matt. Is there a second? Second. Debbie, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving to executive session. We're going to take a small break. Thank you all for being here tonight. Enjoy the rest of the day.